So if you've been in your career a while and you're good at what you do, but you plateaued, maybe you're not sure what's next, I'd invite you to simply copy Dan Cumberland. So after 15 years of working in technology and now working with more than 1,400 experts inside the freelance formula, one thing has become abundantly clear to me, and it's that the highest earning people are not always the best at their craft. And in fact, maybe are often not the best at their craft. But what they are the best at is selling why it matters. So today you're gonna meet Dan, and he built a $250K a year solo AI business. He has no employees. And if he stays consistent, I would bet he's on track to do 5x that if he carries on. And the framework that he uses to go from a marketing executive to a high-earning solopreneur is one that anyone can apply with their own skills inside their own niche. And his power framework, which he shares about 20 minutes into the interview, I think, should be, in my opinion, required reading for anyone who is working in the modern workplace. After the interview, I'm going to give you a step-by-step of exactly how to translate Dan's lessons in your own life. So here's Dan. So I appreciate you taking the time. I think just to kick things off, simple. So what's the thing that you do for your clients that you do better than anybody else? And I guess to set the stage for the folks listening, there were two things, just said this to Dan, I'm going to be repeating myself, but that I thought were really interesting about your business. The first is the clarity of your positioning, and that's so rare. I mean, among most businesses, but especially among like expert-driven kind of businesses. The second thing was the way you engage in AI, which is something I think people are really misunderstanding right now. So that was why I thought this conversation would be so useful to people. So going back to, so with that sort of setting the stage, what's the one problem you have that you solve better than anybody else?
I help founder-led brands scale authentically with AI without losing their soul. That means, every founder, every brand hits a point as they grow where they have to compromise the magic that they brought to starting that organization, starting that business, either by diluting that magic across the organization because they're spread thin, or because there's other people that have to be brought into the process. I help them leverage AI to preserve that and scale it. Simply put, cool. I can get deeper into to how I go about doing that, but that's at a high level what I do. I think uniquely and better than anybody else that I've ever come across.
So there's sort of two, since we're tight on time today, there's basically two blocks of this that I think will be super valuable to people, and so I'm just going to kind of go right into those things because we do have a limited amount of time. The first is behind your business. How do you think about structuring it? So there's a lot of different ways that you can probably help founders. What is your, can you give us some idea of the size of the business, how the revenue breaks down, and then how productized your offerings are? Like, how do you actually structure the back end of this?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. And then how did you come to that,
Yeah. So as far as how my business operates behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, high level, we're doing about 250,000. It is me and some contractors right now. I don't have anybody full time. As I scale, looking to bring folks on board. The product ladder is always evolving. The clients that I work with are kind of fall into two main groups. One is brands that are doing 5 to 50 million. And that's really a done for you service where I'm coming alongside and installing some things in their business. It often starts with marketing because that feels like the low hanging fruit of a lot of AI systems, but then quickly goes into operations. What that can look like, for example, did a project with a team of consultants. They help businesses grow. They have some methodology that they use, some core deliverables that are part of their process. And I help them take all those deliverables and basically, pour rocket fuel on them. So instead of taking weeks per deliverable, it's hours with AI. And so that's what that can look like on the done for you side. On the companies below 5 million, I teach, I train. I have a cohort and community where I'm educating people how to build AI systems in their own business. So showing them, how the sausage is made, if you will. Yeah. And how I got into it, rewound the clock 3 years. I was 3+ years, was running a venture studio, building marketing technology software with 2 business partners. That came to an end in 2022, just going different directions with my partners. We sold one of the companies that we were building. The concept of venture studios, we had a core team, about 12. I was CEO, kind of the glue holding the organization together, or at least trying to hold the organization together. Yeah. And then we launched projects from that core team. So we were building software projects. When that wrapped up, I was pretty burnt out from trying to hold it all together, and wanted to build differently, and started consulting for software companies around growth and RevOps and marketing. Since that's really where in the startup land, that's where you live or die. So I had a lot of reps in growing software in those early stages. Yeah. So I was helping other companies, but I wanted to do it different. ChatGPT, had just come out as a consumer-facing model. We had built some in the venture studio as a developer tool, some light AI features, and so with these new tools, I wanted to see how far I could get without growing a big team. Wanted to stay super agile, and so wanted to push the boundaries of what these tools could do. And I found that I could get them pretty far. Pretty quickly, was running basically an AI agency behind the scenes. In the front, on the front end, I was a fractional CMO, but behind the scenes, I was running an AI agency. And then pretty quickly thereafter, started teaching, just talking to friends about what I was doing, suggesting that they do similar things, and they started getting big results from the things that I was suggesting. So then started consulting, and kind of made this pivot over the last year to 2 years, from marketing, strictly marketing, to AI consulting. And I still do some marketing projects, but they're all AI driven now, and doing a lot of AI installs for marketing teams. So that's how I got here.
What drove you so one of my big things with folks is the imperative of focus. That the biggest mistake that I see folks make is that they end up with a bunch of different specializations, a bunch of different things they can do. And so they do.
Oh man.
And it's
story of my life.
And it's one of the things that keeps businesses stuck in these small solo businesses, where you are basically limited by time is the biggest factor. I would love that actually in a different conversation, understand why you went from the venture world to kind of this world.
Yes.
I have kind of a similar trajectory. And anyway.
We should catch up on that.
Yeah, totally. Because I think this is a much more interesting world, or just a much more, for what I want out of life, a bit better fit. But anyhow,
yes.
How did you find that process of niching and focusing?
Yeah.
And kind of with hindsight, is somebody who's sitting and struggling to work that problem right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them about that process?
Yes, that's like the question. In short, it was messy, and I've always struggled with I love the possibility, right? And I think so many business leaders, so many entrepreneurs are attracted to entrepreneurship because we could do anything. Look at all the stuff we could do. You could just go do stuff. You don't have to ask for permission, right? And so then we end up doing so many things. And so, hindsight's 2020. So I could tell a really clean story, but it's, it was messy. I somewhat fell into the CMO role, and then just found myself using these tools, and then started noticing the questions that people were asking along the way. Was I thought I was going to be running the venture studio for a long time. I thought that was the thing that I was going to be doing for a good chunk of my career. And when it wrapped up, there was a big loss, and I felt really disoriented coming out of that. And as I started to find my footing, if you will, as a fractional CMO, this is fine, but I can't scale. I was software is infinitely scalable. That's why we were building software. And now I'm trading time for dollars. Not really. I structure my contracts based on deliverables, but still, there was a pretty hard ceiling. And so I was always looking for like, what can I build that is more scalable? And where can I provide more value than just, some, marketing, email sequences or ads management or like all of those things. And so I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's like navigating by position of the stars. It's like, okay, I have this data point over here, this data point over here, and this data point over here. I think this is the direction that I should go. And then letting the results kind of, give me creating feedback loops, right? Like where I'm hearing from clients, where I'm seeing the wins and where they're saying, this is worth so much to my organization. And like really listening to that, getting closer to your customers.
I think AI.
That's probably not helpful for people listening who are in a similar spot. I don't know, but that's the best I can claim it.
The fundamental thing though, is that so one of the things that I always preach to folks is you have to default external in these businesses. What people want to do is think their way into an answer. But you cannot think your way into answers. You have to act your way into answers.
Yes, 100%. So well said. I think of it like steering a boat. Like if you've ever driven like a power boat or like a jet ski, like you can't steer it when the engine's not on, right? It's the motor is what makes it go, what makes it steer. And so the same is true in your life. You got to take action.
Yeah, and you'll never figure it out without that. And so getting closer to customers. And I think for me, one of the things that prevents folks from going to the next stage is like for you figured out this problem. AI, one of the things the reason I suggest, like most of my folks are mid-career professionals, they've been in a job, they're trying to figure out like, how do I not be in corporate America for the rest of my life, right? Or some version of it. And I always say like the things that are like everybody thinks I'm going to do e-commerce or drop, I don't know, whatever the internet tells them is a good idea, but it's like, dude, everything is hard. And it's like, you already have, like, it's not easier over there. You just don't know what you don't know. And so 100%. Start with what you know and you're disproportionately valuable at, and then be willing to productize and package it, because $1 million a year, that's a big number, right? But that's a thing you can go sell $1 million worth of pens, right? And figure out customer acquisition costs and figure out like manufacturing. It's so complicated. Yeah. So the thing that keeps people stuck to me is that once they then do figure out the problems, they're unwilling to be opinionated about the solution. And that really is the part that I think separates the real of the real scale, which is like, I'm not going to do everything for you. It's like, this is the process to solve the problem. And this is what it costs. Yep. And that's where you can really detach money from. Everything is money to time at some level, but there's very large gradients of difference.
Yeah. But you want to index off money to value, right? Because I can create a disproportional amount of value, and this is what I saw with AI, which made me make the switch from marketing to AI. Is that an AI system could take me, a day to build and could produce, hundreds of thousands of dollars of value to my customers. Whereas like a day of, marketing leadership, depending on the scale, maybe it could produce $100,000. Most of the clients that I had were in the, $5 to $20 million range. So it's not, one day is not producing hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. And so there is, look for those leverage points of like where I could spend a smaller amount of time, but my customers are getting a disproportional amount of value out of that time that I invested. I think is a really interesting equation.
And I think for consultants, the whole AI thing too, one of the reasons I was so interested in chatting with you is because for the folks who are in my community and so forth, productizing expertise, so what is AI going to do? AI is going to take the middle answer, right? The generic Google answer and give it to you, right? And so what that means is general information is disproportionately less valuable, but specific information, the stuff that you can't find on the internet 100%. is exponentially valuable. And so when you can take that and build models with your disproportionate expertise from a career in supply chain or a career in freelance naval ship architecture, all this stuff, I think, messaging, that's a real thing. Product, whatever it is. Now you have a lever so large, and instead of selling it to one company,
so good.
for 100 grand
Yep.
a year or 150 or whatever your number is,
Yes.
200.
Yes.
Go sell
Yes.
it to 15, 20, 30 companies and make exponentially. So with
Yes.
that in mind, as you think about that,
Yeah.
what do people get wrong about working with AI? Because I know what you're doing is building custom models. And that's something that's really interesting to me, because if you just use ChatGPT is the one I use most out of the box.
Yep.
It's useful, but it's useful like a Google search is, and it'll trick you into thinking it's more useful than a Google search is, even though it may not actually be,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Great question. First, like, I think you're 1,000% right. Like, someone with specific domain expertise, you take that expertise and you apply AI as leverage to that expertise, and it's like rocket fuel. And so I just totally agree with everything that you just said. The mistakes that people make are not giving enough context. Context is where AI systems like live or die. And but what by context it means, what I mean is, imagine that AI is a recent grad from an Ivy League school that got a degree in every degree and got straight A's and aced every question, and they just started in your business. Today is day one. They're brilliant. Like, what are you going to give them to do, right? And how are you going to equip them to do their job? The gap between them doing anything that you would want them to do and where they are right now is context. And so when we talk about context, it's knowledge of your business, of who you are, of your values, of your customer, all those kinds of things. And so where people go wrong is that they don't spend enough time thinking about how to give AI the context that it needs. They rely on, this is a big one, they rely on ChatGPT to just quote unquote know them really well, and the AI systems know this, right? Like, they know that this is a problem. That's why, like, ChatGPT created this knowledge function. So it's learns more about you so it can get better. I prefer to take the control back and instead of letting the AI system choose what's important, tell it what's important. There's two different ways I think about this. One is I use this acronym called the POWER framework. That is a acronym that you can use with any task, any project, and any system that you're building with AI in order to make sure it knows everything it needs to know about you. The P is for the persona. Who is it that is being written from, the perspective that's being written from. The O is the other. So who's the recipient on the other side? The W is the work. What is the thing that you're actually making? What does it look like? How long is it? What's the kind, what are the parameters for it? The E is the expression. That's the style guide, the language that's being used. And then the R is references. What does success look like? Give a handful of really good, solid examples. If you check all of those boxes, then you can, your AI is going to do the thing you need to do. This grad that just started today, if you can give them all the information that in all those 5 boxes, it's going to be able to knock that project out of the park. The next step is to systematize that and codify that. I do that in what I call training documents, which are lightweight text files and markdown files that you give it to Claude as a skill. You can put it into a custom GPT or a project in ChatGPT or Gem in Gemini. That teaches AI how to do the things that it needs to do. So you could think of it like training a model. It's not truly in a technical sense a custom model, but it codifies that whole process so that you can get AI to get consistent results. And I teach everybody how to do this. If you want to learn, at aitrainingguide.com, you can opt in there, and it walks you through the whole process of how to build these kinds of things. But those are the biggest gaps, is not giving enough information about what needs to be done in order for it to be successful.
Yeah, because I would, this is why you end up seeing all the AI slop in LinkedIn or wherever, because it's like, write me a viral post about X. But what you just forgot in that whole context was, who is this for? What are your opinions? All of the information that makes it useful outside
100%.
of just a rip and replace. Like, nobody needs more just blanket inspirational content, right? There's no gap in the market for for just rote inspiration, whatever, fluffy.
Yes.
And I think that's
totally.
Yeah, that's a very interesting framework. And I think, you wouldn't want to train your own model in any way. OpenAI is spending everyone
Yeah,
money on
exactly.
the whole planet to make the the
Yes.
model.
Yeah.
So
Can
you're
you
not
really
going to win
compete
on
with,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly because people, some people who are super technical, AI scientists are like, wait, are you actually training models? Like, no, like by your definition, no. But what I am doing is we're putting the parameters in place, the guardrails in place to avoid, that tendency to get pulled back to just the generic middle, so that your AI is specific to the language, to the output, to the perspective that you bring to the table and bring to the world.
So I know we're up on time here. So I really appreciate this. I would have a million more questions for you. I'll ask.
Let's do it again. Yeah.
Let's see. One favorite app or tool do you have? Do you have something that you use every day that is like super?
Yeah. I'll give you two. First is Whisperflow, which is a voice to text. It's just really fantastic. A very similar tool is also called Super Whisper, but I can hit a button on my keyboard and talk in any app, and it cleans it up a little bit, formats it, and it's just so much faster than typing. So that's it's a lightweight. It's AI behind the scenes, but super helpful. Other tool, I'm a big fan of Windsurf, which is a technical, it's very much like Cursor. It's a AI enhanced development environment, but I use it for more than just development, and it's like rocket fuel. So that's a little bit geeky, but for anyone really wanting to go down the rabbit hole of AI, I'd say definitely spend some time with those kinds of AI enhanced development tools, even if you're not a developer.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you got a meeting coming up right after this, so I don't want to make you late, but I really appreciate the time. And
yeah, man,
do it again.
This is great
in the future. And so forth.
Yeah, and would love to spend some more time catching up and just hear more about what you're up to in the world as well. So appreciate the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, so if your goal is to quit a job or move past a plateau, here's the playbook that I see from talking with Dan. The first for me is recognize what you just saw. Now, for me, what Dan is doing is the future of work. This idea that you don't need a massive company. You shouldn't rely on a single source of income. What you need is a niche skill and the ability to amplify it with AI, because this niche skill in a future where AI is going to aggregate the entire internet and make that information available is your moat. What you can see is that people no smarter than you and me are making 10 times more simply because they are mastering this framework. The second thing is commit to owning a lane. So after working with more than 1,400 people in the freelance formula, what I can tell you for certain is that far more people fail because they are unwilling to focus in one single direction long enough to get compounding versus they are picking the wrong lane. One of the things that I always tell people is it's not about what can work. It's about what are you committed to making work. People think that, you come out of supply chain and that can't be the path. I need to do drop shipping, or drop shipping didn't work. So it's not the thing, it's your execution of the thing that matters. And if you are a mid-career professional, you've got all this expertise in an area that is hard-won and irreplicable. It's not something you can just pick up. It's not something somebody can just give you in an online course. It's something that took you 15 years to hone, and that is a moat if there's ever been a moat. And so in this old model, right, and what got you here was get a job, be a generalist, climb the ladder. But what's going to get you to the next step in your life, if more freedom, more money, all those things are what you want, is own a niche, build a system, and then let leverage do the work, right? Because if you're unwilling, I say in all of the courses, in all of my cohorts, and everything that I do, in the modern economy, you either have leverage or you are someone else's leverage. And if you're working inside of someone else's system, then by default, right, you are their leverage, and you need to own leverage for yourself. And so a little anecdote to bring this home, by the way, like if you think about the importance of owning a niche, we talked about this a little bit in the interview, but the AI is going to be great at average, because that's by definition what is out there. It is ingesting all of the average information, but story and taste, the ability to know what matters and tell stories around it, it's never going to be able to be good at that because it requires too much context. So when I first started my career, there was a guy named Ryan Kavanaugh who founded a company called Relativity Media, or Relativity Revolution Studio. Relativity? Revolution. Name doesn't matter. You could go look him up. Basically, he said he had the algorithm for predicting movie hits. It worked for like 2 times, and then he blew through $1 billion and it failed. Why? Because reality is just too complicated. AI can't give us all these right answers because there's too much context. So the more narrow you can be, the more expertise you can bring in that area, the more valuable you're going to become. And by the way, if you look at somebody like Fletch, I'll link their interview after this, you can see how those guys, they took one skill, one way of delivering, they replicated it, and they're making, I think they just said they crossed 3 million in revenue this year. As product marketers, they would have been making 125,000 a year, working 60 hours a week for some company, getting jerked around all the time. Number 3 of my takeaways is start where you are. The things that you already know are your most valuable competitive advantage. Okay, doubling down on you. In a world where average is easy, you have to double down on you. Taste is very, very difficult to replicate. It just requires too much context. And here's a very practical, for number 4, exercise that you can run tonight. So with AI even, or on a piece of paper, do this. First of all, what are the problems that I solve every week? Start like, who are the individual buyers, the stakeholders in your company, your boss, your etc., even your friends. So I know a pharmacist that was in my one of my positioning sprints, that what he was actually getting asked for by people was help with their diabetes. And so he started this workshop program based on his unique approach to diet and so forth. And he's out earning his pharmacy practice. Or actually, I don't know if he's doing that yet, but he's getting a lot of traction. So what are the problems I solve every week? Okay. And then who else outside my employer has these same problems? When you draw, picture a Venn diagram, what people's problems are and your unique skills is a definable niche. And you don't need to over-index on the demographics of the thing, right? The most important thing is to be able to articulate a problem the way your prospects would talk about it. Okay. And I'll give you a warning for here. The single biggest mistake you're going to make if you try to build this business for yourself is going too general. So saying you're a fractional CMO or CFO or whatever, it's not niche. Saying you're a fractional CFO for fintech is not niche. What you need is clear problem, clear solution. So write down an example here, helping fintech CEOs develop their prickly point of view. That is a niche, right? Your problem becomes you can't stand out in a world that's too overrun with crap. So I'm going to help you develop a prickly point of view that says, this is what I think about the future of fintech. And then you're going to bang that drum over and over again. And that's how you're going to get visibility for your startup. Niche down into a specific pain and a specific promise. And inside that, and by the way, in my whole career of positioning technology companies, this was a problem I would run into over and over and again, even with tens of millions of dollars raised, hundreds of millions of dollars, or billion-dollar companies. When they were unwilling to get specific about the problem they were solving, they would flounder. And when they got specific about the problem they were solving, they would get traction. The same will be true for you. Independence and freedom will come from clarity and specificity. And it's also where your mental clarity will come from. Because when you stop pursuing all the possible directions, right, and you double down on one thing, and then you let compounding take hold, because compounding is the most powerful force in our modern economy, then that's where you're going to get the asymmetric outcomes, and where people are going to go in 3 years, man, it must be nice. You're able to earn so much while working so little, and you're going to go, yeah, it's because I let compounding do the work. All right, so if you want to go deeper into building your own version of this, I would invite you to go check out the Freelance Formula, which is my self-led program that'll help you, that'll walk you through all the steps required to position your unique expertise into a mid-6 or 7-figure business. If you're not ready to take that next step, then I would encourage you to check out some other videos. I will link the Fletch interview here. I'll link to some case studies with some other folks who have followed this path here. And you can continue to think about what this looks like for you. With that, I'll see you in the next video.